Oh, we're here. Hello, everybody. We're back. We had some technical difficulties, and 3 days later, 4 days later, we're here. Look, we're wearing the same shirt. We didn't even plan that. It's
Wait,
just kind of happened.
that's so funny.
So, to remind everybody, which actually we had to remind ourselves, but you guys probably won't because I'm gonna combine these. So, it'll just be going into this next part of the story where we're going into tell about that month of.
It's a trilogy.
Yeah, it is. You know what? And the last video is a two-parter. You know, like in many of those movies. Anyway,
Okay,
so here we go.
I want to start by saying I we talked about me going through the drug withdrawals and everything,
Yeah.
and I have been completely, clean for 3 months.
Okay.
And I all of these miracles were happening. I have not been able to move my body since I was a kid. Like legs, couldn't move them. Arms, I could at that point. I could only move my my left forearm
Okay.
and my left hand. I quit being able to pull a shirt over my head since I was 8.
Oh wow.
And we talked a little bit about my head,
Mm-hmm.
having to have support. I was sitting in my bed, moving my entire body. I was raising my arms up above my head, praising God.
If you haven't used muscles in that period of time, it's like they go away. So
They atrophy.
yeah, that's like if you haven't moved in that long and you're lifted, that is a miracle. I don't know how that happens.
It was, and during this time period, I was making predictions.
Okay.
And one of those predictions, the other ones were just like, I would tell somebody, like, oh, you've got breast cancer, you need to go see a doctor, and then go and it'd be true,
Mm,
stuff like that. But
yeah.
um, one day I looked over at my husband and said, there will be 3 hurricanes back to back to back, and one will destroy Houston.
Oh man.
And he immediately went and started, doing research, trying to find a hurricane.
So in his experience, was this something that was relatively common? I would say not all the time, but if he instantly believed and instantly was like, "Oh, I better check this out," was
Yeah.
there?
Um, my husband had Asperger's,
Okay.
and people with Asperger's, a lot of people with Asperger's, I'm not going to say everyone, um, spend a lot of time in computers
Okay.
and on the internet.
Mm-hmm.
And that was what drew us apart. because when we were first, you know, talking and getting to know each other,
Yeah.
it was through a computer.
Yeah. Through LDS singles, right?
Yeah. And anyway, he couldn't find anything.
Hmm.
And he was like, he kept the Weather Channel on 24/7. And I think it was about a week later, he came to me and he told me that there was I can't remember what they're called before they're a hurricane, tropical.
Tropical storm.
And it was like way, way far away.
So it was in the forming area in the
Yeah.
middle of the ocean.
And on the 21st, um, Hurricane Harvey had become a hurricane and made landfall. And I'm up there in San Angelo and I'm freaking out because my entire family is here. And I had a app that I downloaded
Mm-hmm.
to be able to communicate with the Coast Guard.
Okay.
And I eventually got my family help.
Oh man. What? Where were they? What happened to them?
Um, it was hot, and there was water all the way around them, so they couldn't get out to get food or get anything.
How long were they stuck there?
They were there. mm, I think it was 4 days before they found them.
Did they have was did they have shelter at least, like their house, the where they were?
Mhm.
Okay, but they were stuck.
Mhm.
Oh man, it's a good
Yeah.
thing that you.
They didn't have, enough water, food, you know. And the hurricane was still going,
Yeah.
Another thing that really freaked me out was I heard other um with this app you could hear everything.
Okay.
People that were calling out for help. And there was a man that had cerebral palsy. He was alone.
Oh.
They didn't get to him in time. And I heard the entire thing. And it was so traumatic.
Yeah, that would be.
So that really messed me up.
Yeah, I mean that happened before you found your family, right?
Mm-hmm.
In the meantime, that would. So on top of the fact that just in and of itself is traumatic, having to imagine and think that this is happening to people, happening to your family.
Yeah, I had no connection with anyone. I didn't know if they were alive or dead.
How far away were you? I don't know the
Four
geography.
hundred, 400 miles.
Okay, so you were. I guess that's outside the range there.
Mm-hmm.
Texas is huge.
Very.
Yeah. So, man, because you live there now, right, in that area,
Yeah.
but before you didn't.
Mm-mm.
Goodness.
Um,
So it's a good thing that you were vigilant to get them help.
when was that eclipse?
The eclipse was in
20 August.
I think it was the 23rd, maybe? I'm looking right now.
Okay, but that day, me and my husband were sitting on the back porch, and we're about to watch the. And this is the same time that,
The 21st.
yeah, this is the same time all that was going on,
Wow.
and I wasn't feeling well, and at that time, I think I was still in hospice,
Okay.
but I wasn't feeling well. I was having trouble breathing. And my caregivers didn't really know how to identify what was going on with me because they were pretty new.
Okay.
And my husband, having Asperger's, never really saw me.
Okay. That'd be hard.
It's very hard.
Yeah.
90% of marriages fail with someone with Asperger's.
Yeah. That's because they can't empathize, right? That's really the big thing.
Mm-hmm.
And for someone like you, who you're an empath, you're very empathetic.
Mm-hmm.
You sense and connect. That's one thing I've noticed about you, just knowing you in these weeks, is that you're very in tune
Mm-hmm.
with what people are feeling, and doesn't even it can be you, distance doesn't matter. It's a matter of you think about it, and it comes. You just feel what they feel.
Yeah,
So that'd be
hey,
very hard.
you say distance doesn't matter, and you are right about that because my best friend Michael,
Different Michael.
yeah, different Michael, lives on the other side of the world in Australia, and uh, I called him one day and said, "What are you doing?"
What did you do?
And he just playing, you know, and I was like, I said, "You never really thought that I was being for real about being psychic. But I'm about to tell you. I'm about to prove that I am." And I won't go into detail, but I told him
Mm-hmm.
something that I knew he was doing, and his face went white.
Man. And when she says psychic, um, it just means that you're gifted to know what's going on. I think it's a spiritual connection. I think
Mm-hmm.
that you have with people around you, and people that you know.
It's just people you're connected to.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There are some people that you're more closely linked to than others. We're
Yeah.
all connected,
Mm-hmm.
just some are more than others.
Yeah. Now, I've experienced that to some degree myself too. So, yeah,
I think everybody does at some point.
yeah.
They
I
just
think you're probably right.
tune into it.
I think there's a lot more that goes on between our spiritual selves than what many of us would understand because we can't see it, and because we
Mm-hmm.
can't see it or hear it, it doesn't exist, right? No,
Right.
no, that's wrong. No, that's wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Shonda, that's wrong. What are you
Mm-hmm.
talking about? No, it's they. The spirits talk to each other, and that's where intuition can come in. That's where the spirit, their spirit, or spirit of God, or whatever it might be that comes in and can enter your heart and mind. That's how it's a more pure way to communicate. It's just hard for our finite brains to understand it all the time.
I'm sorry. I'm trying to piece these memories together.
Take your time because we can just stitch it if we need to. I intend to stitch different parts of the show. So
I don't remember if this was before or after I I talked about how the veil just was ripped right off.
was this the time that are you talking about when you were sitting on the
Mm-hmm.
okay, you were on the porch.
um, I remember being out there and watching my dog, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and telepathically, I told my dog to go up to the fence to the neighbor dog and to pee and then come back. But I told him to go a certain path,
Mm-hmm.
to circle around the bush 3 times.
Oh,
And he did.
was this just a test?
Hmm.
Yeah, that's the first thing I would do too.
And then I thought, that really,
Coincidence. Maybe he always walks around 3 times.
I did it again.
What'd
And
you do this time?
I kept doing it. So I would have him go like the opposite way around the bush and go back to the fence and then come back again. And then this time circle around 5 times.
Oh wow.
I did that over and over, and it got to where I cannot believe this is happening.
Yeah. You telling me now, this is the first I've heard this part of it. It's very fascinating.
And I had a caregiver. She was the biggest procrastinator. She could waste so much time. Like, I remember one day we said, okay, for supper we're gonna have leftovers. So all you gotta do is get the food out, put it on the plate, put it in the microwave.
Yeah. But
How long does that take?
I don't know. You should telepathically tell her to go circle around a bush a few times. She'd probably do it right away. I'm so funny sometimes.
Yeah, that happened. But not the bush. Not the bush.
In my mind, I was like, "Oh, okay."
I can't remember what it was though. God, I wish I could remember what it was. But when I was sitting in the kitchen with her, and like I would think, okay, now scratch your nose, now put your hand in your pocket and stuff like that.
And
And
this wasn't like you projecting it onto her, forcing her to do it, right? It wasn't you controlling her.
I would think about her doing whatever it was.
Okay.
And she was doing it. And it got to the point where I was like freaking out because nobody should be able to do that.
Yeah.
I could
Yeah.
see I could see what, like, if someone needed something, like I could see their emotions, and I was able to give, some things that they needed,
Okay. That makes sense.
it was really weird.
You've done that to me before. So,
Really?
yeah, just probably unconsciously did it, but yeah, I just remember you being in tune enough that I mean, I don't remember the specific situation, honestly. It's just I remember it happening and it feeling something completed for me. So like something made a lot more sense. You intuitively thought about it. So
Mm-hmm.
you just knew what was happening is kind of my point.
Yeah.
So that's crazy. Like um, now I do like it can make anyone uncomfortable to think about. I love your dog. It can make anyone uncomfortable to think about like it being a controlling situation. But if it was subconscious suggestion, was it stronger than that?
Um, I didn't play too much with it because
Oh,
I mean the whole rain cloud thing, and
oh yeah, we were going to talk about that.
we did talk about that, didn't we?
Not on one that we recorded. So it was
Uh,
on the previous one.
yeah, the whole
So
cloud thing. I was like done with trying to do things because that really scared me.
interesting. Let's fill everybody in real quick. So
It was the day. It was either the day before or day after. It was the day of the eclipse.
okay,
I was outside, tilted back, sun on my face, loving it, and I saw a big dark rain cloud come over the house, and I was like, "Oh no!" And I just reached up with my hand and waved it back across the house. But it wasn't just a wave, but it was a will. Like I willed it, commanded. Not like I command you, but just I needed the sun. And that cloud, I am not kidding you, it went back the other way.
clouds don't do that in
and
general.
my husband was right there. I said, "Did you just see that?" And he said, "Yes, I did." And we kind of laughed about it, but it was really, I was like, what is going
What
on?
else do you do? I mean, besides, it's like, what is going on? Was this before or after?
That's what I'm saying. I don't know if it was before or after.
Because when you told me the story before, you were telling Renell and I the other day, you you were explaining. I mean, which came first? I don't. I don't remember, or it doesn't. I don't think it really matters, but much. But you had an NDE or
Yeah.
something to that effect. Was that the same day or the same? Like, I know it was within the same short period of time. So it happened in that time frame
Mhm.
where.
Like within a day, maybe.
Okay, I'll
Like,
let
all
I'll let
the,
you explain it then.
but yeah, I was still on hospice. I hadn't because I got really really sick and was having trouble breathing. I started having a real bad pain in my stomach, and hospice they don't want to fix you. They want to make you comfortable,
Yeah.
and I was not comfortable. So I decided to go to the hospital.
Mm.
Um, but before I went to the hospital, I was having these out of body experiences. And, the people that were with me, when I was dying, um, they were telling me that I was just gone for a short time, seconds, and it felt like forever because I had been out there, and I saw so much. I remember seeing these big, huge mathematical equations and having no idea what that meant.
Mm.
And at one point, I saw a molecule that cures everything.
Oh wow.
And and when I came back after seeing that molecule,
Yeah.
4 days later, I was on um, the internet and I saw that molecule. And I started reading about it. And I know how to uh, recreate that. It's not actually the molecule, but it's a reaction
Okay.
of the molecule. And I'm not a scientist or anything. I actually failed, biology and science and everything. So, but it's not the molecule itself, but it's the reaction.
Okay.
A reaction from the molecule that is what cures everything.
Okay.
I, well, I don't say I know. I think I know how to recreate it, but it would be very, very dangerous. And there are people right now on the earth that are trying to recreate it. So there are other people that know about it, but they're going about it the wrong way, and it's never going to work.
Mm. And they're just causing danger.
Uh huh. And my mother's cousin was a molecular engineer, and uh, We hunted him down and found him, and he was in a nursing home,
Hmm.
and he had real severe dementia.
Uh,
But we spoke to him about it, and he was saying that even if he were, young and had his full mental capacity, he said there's no way that he would be able to recreate that.
did you tell him your part of it, like what could make it work?
Mm-hmm.
How did he? Did he verify that it was even a molecule that, or the reaction could be there, like theoretically?
Yeah, he did.
Okay, so theoretically, it's something that could absolutely do this kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
But
seems like something that should that God would use to create. So, like that's how I envision what you're saying. So,
yeah, I feel like nobody should have that much power
yeah,
because everything that man has ever made has been for the betterment of mankind, right? Just about, you know. And
they were trying to for the betterment of the mankind.
like electricity,
Hmm.
vision, radio, everything.
Yeah,
And we always seem to find a way to make it evil.
yeah, okay, yeah. I see what you're saying now. Absolutely.
So, um, no, nobody should know.
Yeah, yeah. That's something that I think in time, as we move into our, next life, next world, right?
Mm,
As we move in through, Christ coming back and start looking at resurrection, right? Those that we're going to have to look at it scientifically because that's what it is. It's science that God uses because He created all of it. It's not just some magical thing that He came in and said, "Hey, we're gonna this blah blah blah." No, He
mhm.
used science. He used the laws. He created them, and just boom. Well, created many of the laws that we're talking about. So, anyway, that's very interesting. And so you saw this, and I know a little bit more about that experience when you went. So that's just one thing that happened while you were out of body
Mhm.
at that time. And so she had. How long would you say you felt like it was that you were out of your body? Because I know you were only out for seconds at a time, right? But
God, I mean, I thought I was out there forever. But when you come back, you're still on the same, same location, same people, and you can't. I can't. I had to have been gone for hours. No, I wasn't.
so it was like it was hours, not weeks.
Right.
Okay, just wanted to clarify on that
Yeah.
because yeah, that's trippy.
Yeah.
So ultimately, you left your body a couple times. You said, was this? Are you able to walk through exactly what? Not exactly, but able to walk through us through that as best you can, or like I know that there's lots of things that you chose to forget when you came back, but you remembering everything.
Hmm.
So you remember all these things that happened or that you knew.
It was so overwhelming because one moment you're here, and then the next you're out there, and I'm going to say outer space because that's what it looked like to me. I could see planets, saw other life on other planets. I saw um, other planets that were just like Earth,
Mm.
this spitting image of Earth. Um, at one time, I was looking at this beautiful thing. I didn't know what it was. uh, it looked like an angel or a bird, or it was just really beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
And the colors were so beautiful. We don't have colors like that here. And just recently, and I shared this with you,
Yeah, I saw the picture. I'm gonna try to pull it up now while you're doing it.
I was on Facebook looking on my friend's Facebook, and I saw a picture. And I was like, "Oh my gosh, that's what I was looking at. I was out there."
So you were just perusing on Facebook and you saw it.
Mm-hmm.
It's like that's what I saw. That's what I was looking at.
And I told her, I said, "What is this? Do you know where that is?" And she told me it was a nebula,
Okay.
and it was in the star forming region of our Milky Way.
So relatively, I mean,
That blew my mind. I was,
yeah.
wow, because I have always wondered, like, I wonder where I was. You
Like
know,
where you went.
far away.
Did I lose you?
And I had to be even further away because I was looking at it in a distance.
So when we are looking at the picture from our perspective, I think it was James Webb Telescope that picked it up, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it was just picked up weeks ago, like,
Mm-hmm.
or months ago. It was relatively recent. Just since James Webb came up, it's only been a year. And all this stuff happened before.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of crazy. So when you saw it from that angle, because anywhere that you would go, it would look different. But if you saw it from the angle of having looked from Earth, or at least that general direction.
I was way, way far, way far out.
So you were way far out the
Because
opposite direction from Earth, or
I was looking down at the Earth,
okay.
and the nebula, it was off to the right.
Okay.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know where I was.
Well, if it's if the picture was, I mean, you saw it from that a certain angle, that means that, whatever you, okay, I found it.
You found it?
Yeah.
And when you're out of your body, you don't see, like, we're stuck in this body,
Yeah.
and we see through eyes, and we're limited to the perspective of everything. Isn't it beautiful?
Yeah, that is. So we're limited by the perspective of our eyes
Mm-hmm.
versus you have a much
But
broader sense of senses.
I call it spirit eyes.
Okay. So you could be looking at things from multiple.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So you're seeing a wholer picture. So that's what you saw, and along with being up above Earth and seeing Earth, and you were able to basically be up above Earth and as well as getting down close, right? Or at least
Mm-hmm.
to a degree. Like you could feel people.
Definitely. I could feel everyone.
And how did that feel?
And that was very overwhelming.
Oh, but yeah, I can imagine.
I could hear them. I could feel them, see them. I started seeing people. There's a great evil on the earth right now. We're in a very, very dark period.
Yeah.
And I knew that, but I didn't really know. And when you really know, it's very traumatic.
I can only, like, I haven't seen and been where you've been. Um, but what kind of things did you see or under? I know that we don't want to go into something crazy traumatic, but was
Human
it?
being is one.
Uh, so you just
Uh, I can't. I can't.
we don't need to go down that road. I think everyone can pretty much imagine, and don't have to doesn't have to imagine very far to be able to understand or yeah, at least know that it happens. So we are in a dark place. I think everyone that watches the show uh, understands that because it's just getting darker and darker.
Rapidly.
Yeah, which Christ said that he would speed up his work in its time, and in other words, he would shorten the amount of time that we would spend in this darkness, and versus what it naturally would be for us to fall down and get destroyed, right? So he's shortening it. At least this is what it says in the scriptures for the purpose of those that want to be righteous, that are trying and that are believing in Christ and wanting to better the world. And for their, if things were just left to themselves, we would all end up falling in one way or another. So Christ really, he's the answer, right? And he's also coming relatively soon.
um, when I looked down on the earth and I saw everyone. I did see that there were people that were starting to wake up.
Mm.
And what I mean by wake up is they're starting to realize what's going on for real.
Yeah.
And they're starting to wake up and rise up.
Yeah.
So.
Now are you talking also about spiritually
Mm-hmm.
waking up
Mm-hmm.
and being able to? Because I experienced something similar like that, where my heart and mind has over time been opened to be able to do things I never thought I could do, to be sensitive enough to feel things that I wouldn't before, to have dreams that I wouldn't before, to have knowledge put into my brain directly that I wouldn't have before. There's some scriptures in Revelation that really shed light on that, but and some in Joel as well. But we don't need to go down that road and have a scripture study. But that's what I get interested in. We could, yeah.
Other.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you're feeling them waking up and you're also feeling just the tremendous evil, there's a separation happening. Well, we're all here. We're all experiencing things, but the wicked are getting worse and the righteous are rising up and growing faster.
Well, when I was seeing all of that is when I started to realize that I was with Christ.
He was there.
He was there. He was right there with me. And he took me to the Garden of Gethsemane. This it's difficult for me to talk about this because it was so traumatic. When I first started trying to tell people about this, I never could tell the story because I would pass out.
Oh, wow. Just pass out. I thought you were going to say, like, cry or...
No, I would pass out.
Be unable to speak. You would physically pass out.
Mm-hmm.
Because of the stress of recalling it?
I really don't know. I really don't know. It was just so traumatic.
Now, when people think Christ was with you, there's peace, there's love, there's those things. But if he took you to the Garden of Gethsemane, we all know what happened there.
I don't know why, why he chose me to have that experience with him. But it was like looking through his eyes. And when the Bible talks about how he bled droplets of blood from his pores,
yeah,
they were not kidding. And it wasn't just droplets. There was blood everywhere. And for your body, because he was a human.
Yeah.
Yes, he was the Son of God, but he was in human form.
Yeah, he was half-half, essentially.
So to experience that,
yeah,
that much stress, that's a lot of stress.
To the point that if you even thought about it, as a third party, you would pass out.
Yeah.
And I'm sure he showed you through his eyes, but there's only so much you could fathom, right?
Yeah.
And it was for just a little while.
Just a fraction of a moment is all I got, but it was way too much. And when I came back here, I left a lot out there. It's just too much. Too much. And I still don't know why. I've done research and tried to find just anybody that has had the same thing, or even similar.
Yeah.
But I haven't been able to find anybody.
That, which part of it?
Has seen through his eyes.
Mm.
I don't get it. I don't understand. And if anybody out there has, please let me know.
Yeah. You guys can contact the show at the email that's attached to the account that we're on the channel. So when you experience something like that, I know it was for a fraction of a moment, and I think let's take that and set it aside. I think we all understand. Well, maybe not understand, but we all have, understand that part of the story at least. What else did you experience with him? If you don't mind me asking.
With him?
Yeah, because
Um, that's all that I can say for sure that I experienced with him. There were other things that happened, like when I saw the other life, other planets. Um, the aliens that we call the Greys.
yeah,
I saw them,
okay,
and they they are like when I was looking at them, the first thing I thought was they're real, and then I received we are them, and first, let me say this: they're a lot like we are. Like some of us are taller, some of us are shorter. I could tell that there were, ones that looked like females and ones that looked like males.
okay.
But they didn't seem to have any reproductive organs.
Hmm.
And when you're out there and this is all knowledge that I already knew. And you know. And they know. Everybody knows.
What
We
do you
all,
mean by that?
we all know that they're there, that they're real, they exist. Because when you're out there, you know everything.
So, what else did you, with that, did he say or you receive any other information about that, or was that it?
Oh, I forgot to say. Yeah, I have a really bad headache.
Oh, I'm
Anyway,
sorry.
right before I left Jesus, um, he told me that it was very important that we learn to love one another unconditionally.
Yeah.
He really stressed that we have to.
Yeah. And we start
we're facing extinction.
Yeah, on this world. So.
And there are other beings out there that they're on our side. They think that we're unique. That was the word that was given, unique. And there are others that want us wiped off the face of the planet.
And let me go in a little bit now and talk about, I want everyone to hear that. Oh, go ahead.
I need a drink.
Oh, okay. Get that drink.
That is a fancy shirt.
It just covered, darling.
Is that the one I bought you? Where'd you get it?
It's our money. I guess we both bought it.
You know what? I'm going to drink too. Nummy.
Massage therapist.
Are you okay to keep going?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So we'll come back in now. Okay, so I want everyone to hear this. When we think and we have theology, and humans want to wrap their heads around things and make things simple, but things are not that simple when it comes to the creation of life and the universe and galaxies and spirits and how it all works. Now, we have a general understanding and we have the information that we need to survive and get through here on Earth. But we eventually will need to move beyond that and understand more. And I think we did understand much of this before we came to this world. And we will understand it again as we either leave this world or go into our next forms of life as we resurrect and become, as part of, God's kingdoms. And so it's important that we don't just ever dismiss information. We can set it aside if we don't understand. But always remember that these things are so much more complicated than just what we feel comfortable with sometimes. And there's a reason why God doesn't just unload all of it on us, because we couldn't handle it.
You probably explode.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And it would cause us to lose. We would lose the focus of what we are here to do, which is to learn, gain experience.
Yes.
To grow and to learn to love each other.
And God wants us to be like Him, right?
Yeah. Yep.
So, and our church, tells us that, when we leave this earth, we can go and create worlds of our own, right?
Yep. That's where we hope to go, and Christ allows us to. So, these things are very real, and there might, Chanda will see all of these things that she saw and experienced through her own perspective.
Mm-hmm.
And she's going to see things differently than you would see, to a degree, because you can only hold so much, and so you pick up different things.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just want those of you that feel uncomfortable with the thought of things that are outside of the box, just remember, put it off to the side, don't dismiss, because these things, she's not lying. I can promise you that. She is not. And she's not embellishing either. She's not one to do that. In fact, she could say things that she remembered more. Easy.
And that's another thing. People always ask me, what did you say? Did they say anything to you? What did you learn? Nothing that I remember. All that I can tell you is what I remember.
Yep. That's what I appreciate about you, is that you want it to be accurate. You want it to be exactly as much as possible as you experienced it. And that's next to impossible, because that kind of experience is so beyond what we can explain in words. And so you're just trying to walk that line of just making sure you tell the facts, the things that you saw and you know. So I appreciate that.
Before I left Jesus, he did tell me one other thing, and that he was preparing to come back soon.
Preparing to come back soon. And I believe that very strongly.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I feel it.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. One other thing. This solar eclipse. I've known since that experience that there would be a solar eclipse on April the 8th. And there would be something that takes place. It starts on the 7th and goes into the 8th. And whatever takes place is going to affect the whole world.
Do you think it will be something that will be plain as day to people, or do you think it will?
I don't know.
You don't know, but it could be either. It could be something that's just so dramatic that everyone sees.
The closer that it gets.
Mm-hmm. We're talking 3 weeks now.
I am uneasy, anxious.
Yeah. Well, I mean, think about what happened last time on a solar eclipse. It was a full solar eclipse, and we've talked about it on the show before, where these two solar eclipses cross each other, and there's a lot of symbolism that goes on here with this thing. But ultimately, what happened last time with you, it was then that there was a crazy hurricane that almost, it killed a bunch of people and your family, whatever. Big deal. That was happening in your life at the same time that you were having a amazing / profound experience on that day, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or right. So 7 years later, ish. I mean, and you knew since then that this would be an important day.
Mm-hmm.
And see, I've known since then for just the symbolic reasons of it and the study I've done.
I mean, I knew a lot of things. I knew who our president was going to be. I knew a lot of things.
Like before Trump or before? Biden.
Um, before Trump.
Oh, wow. That was like the most unpredictable one. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, I've always been, um, I hate the word psychic.
In tune. Let's just
Yeah,
say that.
very, very in tune. Like, if I ever tell you something, you better believe it because it's gonna happen.
Well,
I've saved, a lot of lives because I just knew. I had a girl that uh, this was when I lived in San Angelo. I think it was the year before all that took place. Not even. But she was homeless. She was living out of her car.
mm-hmm.
And I needed a caregiver. So I thought, well, we could let her, stay here.
Yeah.
And in turn, she would take care of us. And that girl, she had a demon attached to her. Like, I literally, one day she walked out of her room and I saw this, and it was huge. It was really big. It towered over her and it was wrapped around her neck. And at night, um, she would get pulled out of the bed. She would wake up and you would see 3 scratches.
Whoa.
And like my husband would have to go in there and just pray over her. And she was very sick. And I kept sending her to the ER, and they kept sending her back. They thought she was a drug seeker,
Oh, yeah.
and she wasn't. She was terribly ill. And the third time I sent her up there, I said, I want you to call me. And she called me Mom because she had disowned her mother.
Okay.
And I was Mama. So I said, you tell them your mama's on the phone. And I told them that they needed to call this specific doctor. It had to be him. And so
How did you know?
I just knew.
Did you know the doctor previously, or you just had a name?
He he had saved my life like 6 or 7 years previously.
Okay.
It was like, yeah, about 8 years previously.
Okay. So it's
But
not like it was top of mind.
mm-mm. I told him it had to be him. And they called him. He wasn't available. So he sent his uh, PA.
Okay.
And she immediately went up there. She had some tests run. And sure enough, she had what I said she had. And they said that had they waited, she would be dead.
Wow. What was... You don't have to say if it was a privacy thing.
Um, it's something called Candida.
Okay.
And it was eating her brainstem.
Oh,
It was right there at the tip of her brainstem.
wow.
And the same situation happened to me. So I saw, you know, all the similar signs.
Yeah. Well,
But she was like having major seizures and, you know, things that I didn't.
man, like, is this a rare situation? It's a rare thing?
Mm-hmm. Mm, back then, yeah. Like, doctors didn't even believe in it.
Mm.
But now it's like doctors are starting to realize that really is real.
I've experienced that personally in my own health, where doctors are like, oh, they like to everything to fit in their nice little boxes.
Mm-hmm.
They're human too, I guess.
Very. But candida is it's a yeast.
Okay.
It, you know, your body has natural yeast that you have to have.
Yeah.
But when you eat too much sugar and processed foods,
Mm-hmm.
it gets to be out of control.
Okay.
And once it gets into your bloodstream and your organs, you're in trouble.
Oh.
And it's very hard to kill.
Well,
Like
but that doesn't.
killing it can be dangerous.
Okay.
It's kind of like cancer, you know,
Yeah, with chemo.
and you kill it too
Yeah.
fast,
Yeah.
it makes you very sick.
Yeah.
And it's the same.
Well, I'm glad that you were able to sense that and see it and be able to do something because, yeah, it's something that these are gifts. I believe gifts, also responsibilities, and I'm sure you feel that very strongly. You feel the responsibility to act when you receive or you feel these things. I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
And I but that's not an easy thing to have that responsibility that's there. But anyway, I say thank you for doing those things.
I've learned that, you know, you can tell somebody something, but most of the time they're not going to hear you. Sad but true.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. It usually takes hard earned experience for them to have it realize. And I'm sure there's many times where people just ignored it and paid for it, which is probably hard for you to see.
Very hard.
Yeah, I know Renell's experienced things like that as well. Her gifts are from a different vein, I think, but you know, people, it's hard for them to believe something that's not within their worldview.
Mm-hmm.
So, anyway, so this whole experience was, I think, profound, and all of us loving one another, I think, is the main and key takeaway that we should take away. Those personal things that happened with you and feeling the the garden situation. That is something that is very profound and difficult to process, I'm sure. But it's also beautiful that you were able to, because he chose to do those things. He did. Because why?
He loved us.
And how much more can we look at it and say how much he loves us? You get it. Because you experienced at least a fraction of what he did for a time. And he still did it because he loves us. And so, yeah. I think that's beautiful.
It's a really deep subject that I could talk about for days.
Yeah. So I'll tell you, this is a Mikeism. This is a Mike feeling and thought. Okay? This isn't like anywhere else. But when it comes right down to it, the only way that he could judge us properly, right? And I think we've talked about this before, is to experience all things at all times, through all time, and everything within that. So it reached forward in time, reached backwards in time, and where he was didn't really have time at that time. I said time a lot. Anyway, so.
And don't you think that's exactly what we're doing?
Yeah, I think as nerves are to the body, we are to the body of Christ.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that just blew my mind a little.
But I mean, you're right on.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I think that's the case. It's the only way, and it also allows us through him, ultimately, to be able to experience things that we couldn't experience otherwise without having to go through it all ourselves and do the same thing he did. How can we learn? So if we go through him, we're able to experience much more than we could ever experience on our own. And so and there is one thing, and this is doctrinally correct within the Bible and within the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, of the church we belong, is that when we exit the body, we enter into the presence of God, and that presence is the light of a light of Christ. It is a connection that connects everything and everybody. It's through all things, in all things, around all things. It's everywhere. And I don't think that we necessarily will all for the rest of eternity be experiencing it all at once. I don't think that's the case. But what I do think is that that is something that we enter, and it will change the way that we see. It will change the way that we experience life. It changes the way that we think, because we can communicate directly. We can. It's beautiful. Go ahead.
It definitely changed the way I think and that I am. And I tell everybody, before I was a religious person, but now I am a spiritual person.
And when some people hear that, they'll hear, "Oh, you're just trying to get away from religion." But religion is something that is housed here on earth for us to have an organization that will allow us to, hopefully grow and be able to understand and teach and reach out to others and have a core. But when we go to heaven, or when we go to this next life, that church dissolves and becomes family units, becomes people, and it becomes a different experience, and it will be all through Christ, and it will be a much different view of things. We need what we have here. We do, as a human family. But you're right. If you you saying you're spiritual does not mean that you've left the religion.
Mm-mm.
It means that you see that there's so much more to it than what's here.
Mm-hmm.
And we all believe that.
Mm-hmm.
But you've seen a little bit of it.
Yeah.
So I think that's beautiful. So yeah.
Do you remember the comet Hellbob?
Say that again.
The comet Hellbob.
Hellbob?
Uh-huh.
Hellbob.
It,
No.
it was a comet that flew over, see it like with your eyes. And that was in 96.
That's Halley's Comet. Is that it?
Mm-mm.
It's a different comet?
Mm-hmm.
Hellbob?
Hailbo.
But Hail Pop, right? Bop?
Hellbob?
Yeah, Hail Bop. Oh, I see. Hale like the last name Hale.
Okay.
Bright and tragic comet of the 1990s.
What year was that? 96? 7?
It's a 200-year one. And it was 1997, it looks like.
Okay. I was sitting outside and I was watching it. And, okay, remember the guy that I was engaged to?
Yeah.
That,
when you were 19?
yeah.
Yeah.
When I was watching that comet fly over, I felt him go straight through me.
Who do you mean by him?
Tommy.
Oh, yeah, so you're saying that you felt him like walk through you?
Like his spirit went straight through me. And I went in my apartment and I told my roommate, I said, Tommy just died. And they said, how do you know? You don't know that. And I didn't, we had lost touch, you know.
Yeah.
Didn't know where he was, where his family was, how to get in touch with them. And his best friend, I kept trying to contact him. And 3 months later, he answered my call. And we talked for a long time. He told me, yes, he did pass away. And yes, it was that day.
Wow.
And that not only was it that day, but he was with him when he passed away. And they were talking about me.
I just got some chills. Because we are connected, and Brunella and I have talked about this on previous shows where those that are on the other side, those that have passed, they are very aware of us. But if we think on them, if we think about them, Renell says it's a law that they have to come.
Mm-hmm.
But
it's true. It is true. I mean, I've had it happen many, many times.
It seems to me the same. Like, it's when I'm thinking, I think about them, and then I've had experiences after those facts that there is something completely to that. I don't know what it is personally because I haven't experienced the next level beyond that.
I had an aunt that I loved her so much. She had breast cancer, and it was her second go around with it, and she was on hospice, and I was 400 miles away, and I couldn't be there. And I wrote her, and I told her exactly what to expect. And I told her I can't be there to tell you goodbye. But what I want you to do for me is when you pass, think about me. And she did. Me and my husband were in our bedroom watching TV, and the TV turned off. And I looked over at the clock, and it was 10:30 something. And then the clock dimmed. And then I looked over to the doorway to the bathroom,
Mm-hmm.
and she was standing there smiling.
You could see her
Mm-hmm.
with your eyes.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that's powerful. When my father passed, I had COVID, so I could not go to the hospital, and he died of COVID, right? So my entire family, his brothers and sisters, and my brothers, like, so I mean the room was packed with like 30 people, which we were only able to do that because we knew somebody at the hospital. They allowed us to, which shouldn't, was something you couldn't do at the time. Anyway, I couldn't go, and neither could my son, because we both were sick. We were the only ones that couldn't be there. And we were very close. And when he passed, it was almost next to, just right away. Oop, there you are. Hello. It was right away, like right after I felt him. And I was feeling the pain of losing somebody in that kind of scenario. That was somewhat of a surprise to a degree. Within a week, then he was gone, right? So, but I felt him come right after.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a peace that I didn't, that was extraordinary. It was not something that I could have achieved on my own. And so I experienced that, and it changed my view of how I felt going through the entire grieving process, which probably couldn't have happened if I would have been there. But it gave me a different perspective, and it was hard, so hard. But I was able to keep a good, positive, peaceful existence along with the grief. And it's so easy to not have that because it hurts. And he was like the first part of my family, like, that died. And so it was like I hadn't experienced something so profound until then. So it was rough. But yeah. So
when I passed away, I was in San Angelo, and we had just fed the missionaries, and we would play a game afterwards. We had played apples to apples. Have you ever played that?
Yes, I have.
So fun. Anyway, they were putting the game back together, and all of a sudden I felt my dad touch me on the cheek. And the missionary said, "Are you okay, Sister King? You look as though you've seen a ghost." And I said, "No, but I think I just felt one." And the phone rang. It was my sister. And I said, "You don't have to say a word. I already know."
Wow. And that.
And my dad wasn't religious at all. He believed that there possibly was a higher power. And he never really believed that I had these experiences.
Yeah.
And I told him, you know, you just think of someone and you're there. And that's what he did. He thought of me and he was there.
That's beautiful and sad at the same time.
Yeah. I miss him.
Yeah. I can actually understand that. So, yeah. It's not easy. But the beautiful thing is that we are still connected to them in a very strong way. We're just seeing, well, you might be seeing things through, a larger, you might, a larger window. Me, it's like, here I can see a little bit, like a straw, and just barely able to be connected, which I guess is the experience that we have with each other too, and why people have a harder time connecting. It takes work. So, anyway, just talking. So, is there anything else from your experiences that you wanted to share tonight?
Turn off your cell phone.
Oh, are you saying me now or just in general?
No, in general.
Okay.
Turn off your phones and quit looking down, look up, pay attention. There's a lot going on.
Yeah.
And we need to get back to where we were, when families spent time together, ate supper together,
Yeah.
played games. What the heck is that?
I still do play
Get
games.
kids outside, let them get dirty, let them get cut, let them get hurt,
Yeah. Experience life.
Mm-hmm.
Purposefully.
Yeah. And stop pointing the blame at others. They find fault in everyone else. Forgiveness.
Yeah. It's the only way to truly love.
Ask everybody, what is love? And most of the time, they can't even tell me.
Yeah. And that's, there's so many different answers that you could give in that scenario, but it all boils down to just some key themes. But the point that I am making now is that if you are you wouldn't know the answer without thinking about it and being purposeful about loving and actually attempting and trying to truly love.
Mm-hmm.
That's when you start to understand it.
Mm-hmm.
Is when you are reaching out to somebody trying to love. And there's a vulnerableness in that because you're putting yourself out there.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to. Otherwise, you can't actually experience it. So you have to try and trust and love and, start with your close people, right? Practice, get to know them, have a family, build it. And then when the time comes, you start to learn to love everybody. Is your caregiver there?
Yeah.
I saw it in your eyes. So, but I think we had a very good conversation tonight.
Yeah.
I'm happy with it. Huh?
We always do.
Well, at least we think so. We're very interested in ourselves and this conversation.
I've been getting messages. People like the show.
Oh, that's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll, yeah, I'm going to edit all this and put it all together, and it will be, a piece of art.
Right.
I hope I don't mess it up.
You won't.
all that, pressure, I guess. Actually, I don't feel that here because this is a higher thing. So
Yeah.
It's one of the times that I can put myself out there. So I have no problem. So I think that I'm very happy we met, and I'm very happy that you came on the show, and I greatly appreciate it. And I love you. I think you're awesome.
I love you too.
My screen just turned off for a second when you said that. It's like you sucked the energy out of it. Just went, and came back on.
I was giving you a hug.
Oh, well, thank you. That was so sweet. It was a blackout hug. Okay. Well, go, enjoy, sleep, and we'll talk. I know me and you will talk again soon. But for all of you out there, we will be back again next week, every Sunday at 8. Like and subscribe. I should have said that earlier in the show. Renell usually says it. Anyway, do that. And we love you. And we'll see you again on the other side.